You absolutely can lose money with land, but it can also be a good investment if you do these 5 things. First, what you want to do is you want to check to see, is it city water, city sewer? All right. So you'll also hear people say that use the word city utilities. Hey, does the lot have city utilities? They're talking about water and sewer. Okay. Now, how do you find that information out? You can call the water company of that particular city. All right. And you can either give them an address or parcel ID number. Some can answer right over the phone. Some you will have to email to get an answer. Number 2, in the event it doesn't have city water and city sewer, don't give up. Okay. That means it's well and septic. However, you need to know this beforehand, all right? So before closing on the lot. Now, if it's well and septic, well will be the water source, okay? Chances are if you live in the city, you probably have city water. At least I do in my house, I have city water. So the city, they treat the water at the treatment center and do everything and make sure the city of Charlotte has good running water. Well, with well water that you dig in on your ground, you don't get a bill per se, a monthly bill like someone else does. However, you are responsible for testing your water. I do know somebody who said that their father passed because they had well water on the land that he owned. He had well water and he was drinking contaminated water and it ended up doing something to his heart and he ended up passing from it. So, but don't get scared of well water. Some people still say well water is the best source of water. You just have to get it tested to make sure it's contaminated. But you want to find out, does this land have well water? And you have to add that in building costs if you plan to build on the land, because you just can't tap into the city water because you have to dig for a well on your land. Okay. Now prices may vary. So in my area, I've heard about $10,000 to dig to the well on your land. That's the number I heard, but again, prices may vary per area. Okay. So septic, if it doesn't have city sewer, that means you need a septic tank. Now, this is how you can lose money. I've lost money like this before. All right. Fortunately, the loss wasn't as bad as you would think it would be. So I bought a lot. I didn't ask if it had city water, city sewer, or anything. I just bought the lot because I thought it was a good deal on the lot in an area that was growing. Well, I went to go sell the lot for double a few years later, and come to find out it was city water, but it needed a septic tank. Okay, so you can tap into the city system for water, but it needs a septic tank on the property. So when you need a septic tank, right, that is due because it doesn't have city sewer. So they have to make sure the dirt is good so that you can put a septic tank and there. And of course, every city is going to have different requirements for their septic tanks. Okay, so they have to make sure the dirt is good. Well, in this particular case, the dirt was no good. So the guy said, hey, let me go get a septic engineer. I didn't even know this existed at the time. A septic engineer to come test the dirt. Well, that septic engineer came out and come to find out it needed a $40,000 septic tank. So that buyer backed out, okay, because it needed a $40,000 septic tank. Normally a septic tank, if you got normal good dirt, you probably can get away with $10,000 for the installation of a septic tank. But in this case, due to my dirt, I needed $40,000. I eventually ended up selling a few years later at a loss. I think I paid 20. All in all, I probably lost about $3,000-4,000 on that. Fortunately, as some years went by, the prices justified having a $40,000 septic tank. So I just want you to think about something. If you're doing a first-time home buyer price point below $300,000 in this particular market on the outskirts of Charlotte, well, a $40,000 septic tank may mess your whole numbers up. So you want to do a perk test. Okay, normally the county handles that normally. All right, you will go down to the county and they will schedule somebody to come out and test your dirt and to make sure that the dirt is good for a septic tank. All right, and septic, that's where your wastewater goes, and you're responsible for maintaining it and pumping it every X amount of years. Number 3, ideally beforehand, you want to get a survey and tell the surveyor to mark the land, okay? You want it marked and surveyed. Marking is where you see those little orange tags on the land and stakes in the ground. That's marking it with your property line. So ideally, you want to get that done beforehand. Now, sometimes you might need to close quick and you might not have time to do that. So if you can get your contract to stretch out 4 to 6 weeks, ideally, so you can get your survey and everything, that is a great thing. But sometimes I get it, you got to close quick, but I strongly recommend you getting a survey so you know exactly what you're buying and making sure that the house next door is not on your land, and what you buying is the land you think you're buying is the land that is marked and you have the survey for. Because let's say if it's 4 vacant lots next to each other and you think you'll get the second one, and come to find out, once the survey is done, you get the 4th on the end, and that one has a creek or a runoff. You know, you just want to be sure of that, right? And you also want to tell the survey to, hey, if there are any easements, make sure you mark that on the survey. What do I mean? Like, let's say the city has a sewer line on the property and they have an easement, and you can't build on that easement. You know, so these are things that you want to know when buying land. Number 4, all right, is the land flat or does it slope? Okay, if it's flat, then that's a good thing. Ideally, you can build a house on a slab. All right, so a slab is like a cement base, so there won't be a crawl space. All right, so it won't be like a crawl space or anything like that, and you can just build it. You don't need to do a basement, which costs extra. If you gotta do a crawl space, it will cost more than a slab. If you gotta do a basement, it will cost more than a crawl space. So you want to look at the lot and see if the lot is flat. See if you can make the lot flat by bringing in dirt, or do you have to do a foundation, or do you have to do a basement to fit that lot? These are things that you need to know, okay, prior, so that you know you can get the right house to fit that lot. So, for example, one time I got a lot that it was probably 5 feet from it dropped 5 feet from the street line as you go down, and that was the building pad area. So I thought that I had plans for a slab. Well, come to find out, you had to do a foundation there. You had to do a foundation so that the house can meet street level. So these are things that you want to know. Last but not least, you want to check with zoning to see what you can build there. What does that mean, check with zoning? All right, zoning will tell you if you can build one house, if you can build a duplex, if you can build 5 houses. Just because you own the land, and the land can be 20 acres, the zoning might only allow you to build 1 house. And I've seen that type of zoning before. And you have to follow the city rules. Just because you have a bunch of land does not mean you can build anything you want, okay? Now, if you have 20 acres, right, and your 20 acres have a residential zoning, and if you keep the 20 acres together with that residential zoning, well, they might allow you to do a quad. But if you split the lots up, you can use that same residential zoning on each of those lots, and now you know you can get more houses, all right? But if you want to say, hey, I want to do a whole subdivision, I got 20 acres, you have to change the zoning, okay? Sometimes that requires hiring an attorney, or in some cases you can do it yourself, all right? But that zoning is most important, all right? You need to know what you can do with the land in the event you want to eventually build on the land, or in the event you want to sell the land. All right. Some people buy recreational use land. What is recreational use land? Well, land that I can go out there and ride my ATVs. I can go out there and let off my guns, etc. And it's a whole bunch of acres. And it's just me on this land. It's just recreational land. All right. But you have to find that type of zoning that allows that type of stuff. Okay. Just because you got the land does not mean you can do anything you want to do with it. And yes, so let's do a recap of what we went over. So number one, find out if it's city water, city sewer. Number two, find out if you don't have city water, city sewer, do you need septic and well. Number three, get a survey and have it marked. Number four, is it flat land or does the land slope? Number five, which is the most important, check with zoning to see what you can do with the land. At this time, check out that video next to me. The government is taking my land. Yeah, things like this happen. Hey, I'm Nasser, AKA the real estate guru. I'm not a guru, I'm a guru because I actually do this business. Peace.